Okay. Garner, you have a very creative business. Started a while back. Obviously, it was a risk when you started that, especially being a teenager at the time. I am assuming based on when you started that, you've been through probably a couple of downturns, although I don't know if the entertainment industry feels the downturns the way some of the other economy does. Is there a characteristic required of an entrepreneur or business owner that helps get them and their company through a downturn like this?
Well, I think that to answer the first part of your question, the entertainment industry is a kind of a unique industry, and something to consider when you're doing things in that world. When the economy is up, Disneyland, Chuck E. Cheese, those types of things do well because people have money and they go there. When the economy turns down, people can't afford to take vacations, they can't afford to fly places, they stay home and they take their kids to Chuck E. Cheese and Disneyland because they got to take the kids someplace and it's cheaper than vacations. So the businesses that I work in actually do well in downturn economies. I just was on my cell phone just as I walked in here looking at Google News, and I noticed that Disney posted record earnings based on their theme parks for the fourth quarter or this last quarter, and it's the theme parks. It's all theme parks and spending, whereas a lot of the television is down, and so the entertainment business is. And I know this. I'm not in the movie business, but I know that movies are similar. I think people spend on that a lot. But no, my company has been through a lot of downturns, and fortunately, a lot of the clients that I work for, it's kind of stymied me. I'm not a real financial whiz. I build robots, but I've had situations where even some of our major clients, like Disney, started on projects with us, and then the economy tanked, and they still kept funding projects. And I basically said to some of the executives once, "Why is that? How does that work?" And they basically said to me, they spend the money, years back, and once the money's spent, it's spent, and it goes on for years, and they can't unspend the money. So once they allot the money, so same with our Chuck E. Cheese group. They continue to build restaurants, and it's a interesting thing. I don't understand a lot about how the corporations we work for all work, but I know that all of them feel that they continue to move forward and continue to be profitable in downturn economies. It was interesting. You get into Disneyland and the bottom of everything before it even started to get better, and it was shoulder to shoulder. You couldn't hardly get in the park. It's packed. So people spend money on that stuff.
Yeah. Ambrose, when you specialize in helping companies get money together, funding, those type of things, turning ideas into reality, what do you look for when good times are bad? What do you look for in a company that gives you the idea that the people that you're going to work with, the products you're going to work with, those are going to be sustainable and they can grow and prevail even if the economy's down?
And actually we really work with innovations. We bring in our own innovations we bring innovations in-house that we feel we can take out to market. So we actually bring the innovation in, not a company and not the entrepreneur. But as far as challenging times, I do believe obviously recessions are painful, but they're healthy. They force us to rethink our business model. They force entrepreneurs and every one of us, but especially entrepreneurs that are trying to create businesses, to come up with different approaches to their business. And in fact, I think recessions sometimes are actually the best time to start a business. And in our scenario, we started in 2009, and pretty much like what Ben mentioned, it was really difficult time to even consider starting a business at that time. But what it allowed us to do, it gave us enough runway so that way when the economy turns around, we have a business and we can show a real business model that's up and running. And that's why I believe starting a business during a recession when everybody else is not doing it is probably the best time for entrepreneurs to weather the storm and start a business.
Okay. I'd like to switch gears a little bit and talk about, you all have innovative businesses, but we all know that success breeds competition. If you're successful at what you do, somebody will figure out a way to, as close as they can, duplicate that and try to beat you at your own game. How do you stay ahead of that, and what are the new opportunities so you can stay ahead of that game? Let's see. We'll start with, I'm going to start with Kathy on this one. She's working in the sustainability business, but what are the opportunities coming up, and how do you avoid competition?
Well, you know, I told you I looked at this for a year before I went into it, and one of the things I looked at is I didn't want as much competition. This is a very niche business, and it's one of the reasons I chose it. That being said, there is competition out there. You rarely meet them at chamber meetings and things like that. I'm kind of one of a kind at most of the gatherings I go to, which is very much to my benefit. But there is competition. A lot of the waste haulers themselves are actually having recycling coordinators go out and meet with businesses, but their funding is such that you might have one recycling coordinator for, you know, 3 different cities for a particular waste hauler. So we're able to get to a lot more businesses that need help than they are themselves, and also offer them an independent look rather than the look from their vendor, so that it brings a little more value to them. But as far as competition and how we stay ahead, I think a lot of it is like you mentioned, flexibility. We have to look at what the next opportunities are. I knew waste management, I knew recycling, and I didn't know construction waste management. You know, I've taken a variety of courses and I've taken my lead exams, but an opportunity arose and someone said, hey, can you work on this Walmart project? We need to track and audit and report on this. And I said, sure. We hadn't ever done it before, but I knew that we could. And so you have to leave yourself open to that. You have to be flexible and learn it and put it into place. And, you know, from that came multiple ones, and we worked on several Walmart projects. So, you know, if you're open, if you're flexible, if you're willing to learn and you're willing to provide that service, you know, it's the opportunity's there to grow.
Okay. I want to pose a similar question to Mac, because it would seem to me that as innovative as it was what you guys did, what stops someone else from buying a handful of airplanes and setting up shop at an adjacent airport and being competition to you?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something that we actually are really worried about at SurfAir. We want to make sure that we innovate and grow our business fast enough that we stay ahead of what everyone else is trying to do. And they see a definite space in the travel industry to innovate as we have. And it takes time to get up to speed. And right now we're focusing on the California market, but someone may say, aha, well, SurfAir is focusing on California. We're going to focus on Florida. We're going to focus on the Northeast, on Texas. There's lots of different areas that the SurfAir model can work. And what we want to do is we want to get there faster than anyone else can. And I think there's plenty of ways that we can do that. We already have kind of the first step ahead of everyone else, but we have to learn from that. And I think the best way to stay ahead and keep innovating is to actually learn from what we've created. No one else that's coming in behind us is really able to data mine internally like we are. We've created a user base, and we've created an experience, and we've created data around how people fly in an all-you-can-fly scenario that no one else knows. So we can actually continue to innovate better and smarter than everyone else will, because they're starting from the ground level and they don't have that knowledge that we do. So I think one of the best ways to really try to stay ahead of the business is really look at what your business has created. Look inside of what has developed and use that to really figure out what the next step should be and what your consumers are really looking for. We have 350 members flying with SurfAir right now, and they talk to us constantly. They tell us all about what they want, everything from the snacks to the routes to how often they fly, all sorts of different things that any other competitor that's trying to come and nip at our heels is not able to know. That's all internal information for us to continue to grow and do better. So if someone does start in the Northeast, then we'll try to get there faster than them. But if they do start ahead of us, when we do enter there, we'll have a better business when we start there. And I think that that's how we'll stay ahead of the competition.
Okay. For Ben, yours is based on a unique technology. As we know from past history, unique technologies do not stay unique. We also know that not only can we eventually have copiers on that, we also know that patents expire and somebody comes up with something entirely different that works better. How do we approach that? How do we keep that at bay and keep our competitive edge?
So there's the classic answers, which are obviously you have to have enough of a barrier to entry that someone coming behind you can't just leapfrog you cheaply, right? So I would say that typically in the technology space where I operate, you do have to have either a patent portfolio or your market has to be small enough and niche enough that none of the big dogs are actually interested in taking it away from you. And that's not our case. This is a fairly large market that we're playing in, so we have a very extensive patent portfolio. Very honestly, we're a venture-backed company. So from our perspective, this is not intended to be a sustainable business with us running it. This is intended to be a business that's grown to a point where our competition decides it's a much better investment to buy us at a very large profit and grow within their business or pieces of it. And it will no longer be the same people running. And for us, that's a very black and white situation. We're venture-backed. There is a liquidity exit planned at some point. We're going to be acquired. But I think the reality is, even if you're running your own very small 2 or 3 person business, the business you're running 5 years from now is not going to be the same business you're running today. If it is, you're going to go out of business. So I think that process of continual renewal and reinvention, and in my case, it's a little bit more stark, I think that has to be in place even if you're running a small business that you intend to be running 20 years from now. It has to grow, it has to change.